Hey everybody, it's Amanda Watson from MrsWatsonEducation.com, my personal blog where I share with you, other teachers of the world, some tips and tricks I learned along the way to make your lives just a little bit easier. Teaching's hard, and especially in the year 2020 is when I'm filming this. We need each other to survive, and this is just another way I can contribute. So this topic video is about OneNote, the beginner's guide for teachers of how to utilize it. And I was so nervous to make this tutorial and blog because I am a Google girl through and through. I've never used OneNote. I was very nervous about it, but I kept hearing teachers talk about how it's a great use for digital interactive notebooks and getting student work. And I figured out I need to look into it some more. My county is a Microsoft county, so I can't do any of the Google stuff with my students. And there's nothing actually comparable as of right now. Google, get on it, to what Microsoft OneNote has to offer. So there is a pretty steep learning curve. I'm going to tell you that, and that's one of the major cons for this. When I first looked into it, I was like, this is way too complicated for me. It's going to be way hard for my students. And I kind of hesitated. I pushed back. But hearing more and more about it, I realized I had to look into it. I had to see another option. I wanted to make this video for you. And this is what I've pulled together. So I am by no means an expert. I've gotten a lot of information in the last 3 days, really. A lot of it I just learned by trial and error, by playing around and refamiliarizing myself with some of the quirks that and some of the great functions also that Microsoft Office has to offer in their OneNote capability. So this is this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoy it. And I've actually changed my mind because initially I was like, I'm going to do this because people want to know about it. I put out a poll and they wanted to know about OneNote, but I'm not going to use it. And now I'm like, this is really good stuff. And so if you could get past the craziness of it and just start looking and playing around with it, use this tutorial as a guide to figure out how to get started. I'm going to be throwing a lot of information at you very quickly right now. This is my second shot of the video. The first one was over 40 minutes long, and I'm going to try to shorten that down and make it more concise now. It's probably still going to be a pretty long video, but I'm going to go quick, but you can pause, rewind, and watch over and over how I do things. So let's get started. The first thing is I love about OneNote is that it's completely integrated into Microsoft Teams. And in Q4 last year, that's what we used to communicate and teach our students with at my district, and a lot of other places use maybe Zoom or Google Meet. It's the same idea, but OneNote is a Microsoft product, as is Microsoft Teams, and they have this class notebook collaboration, which is so amazing, the integration there. So I'm going to show you, if you set up a team, and this is just my demo team, how easy it is to set up a OneNote class notebook. So you just click here, build a notebook from blank. If you already had one existing, so for example, if you made a notebook for period 1 and it's going to be the same thing you use for period 4, then you can just use that existing notebook, which is such a lifesaver. But I'm going to start blank, and this goes over the basics of what you will have in your notebook. So there's a collaboration space, which is exactly what it is. Your students and yourself can collaborate and type things in all simultaneously and work together. Great feature, maybe not with students, so there's a way you can easily disable it, and that's in the notebook editor there. Content library, this is material that you as a teacher can show your students, so you can send them an article, you can send them a video, you can send them whatever you want and you put in their content library, but they cannot write or edit on it, which is one of the great features of the rest of the notebook features, but it's really cool that you can just give them content as resources if you want. Teacher only, this is great because then inside the notebook you can actually create your own work ahead of time that you want to push out in the future. So you could have your whole quarter figured out and push out to students later, and you don't have to have it visible to students, which is great. And then of course the student notebooks, which is fantastic, where you can see their work as they're working on it. You can grade their work, you can push out things to individual students. It's fantastic. So I'm going to hit next, and in the notebook, for the class notebook, you want to decide what are your main sections and components. Now this is the general ones, and these are actually really good. You have your handouts, your class notes, homework, quizzes. You might want to add, in mine I did interactive. I'm still playing around with how I'm going to set this up, but I would do my interactive notebook. I might just do unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, whatever, as these are the main divider tabs that are going to be visible in your students' work where they could find their work. So think about it as sections of a physical binder that you might want them to put their quizzes in or their handouts, but instead of giving them physical paper, you're pushing it out to these sections electronically. So really think about how you want your notebook to be set up. You could add these in the future too if you need to. So I'm just going to create just for the sake of this video. I'm actually not going to be showing you the demo through this one because I already have some stuff pre-loaded into my demo one, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is to make it through Teams. Now, if you aren't using Teams or will not use Teams, you could also make a class notebook just through the 365 app or the OneNote desktop app, which is just as easy. I like Teams because you have your students already populated into that if you want, and then it just kind of makes it consistent. Plus, I'm going to be doing my lecturing through Teams, so having it all in one place makes sense to me, but it might not work for you. When you go into your class notebook, this is what it looks like when you first get in there. There's some really good I read through all this when I was trying to prepare for this video. They have links and videos and tutorials for each of the sections explaining what it is and how you use it. So I think that's a really nice feature for teachers, especially since. So I'm going to go into here, into the one that, I'm going to go into the one that I created for this demo. I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. Because I already made a few pages. So before I get started, there are different versions, and this is a big problem for me, of OneNote. So the Teams version that we're in right now looks different from and I'm going to show you, the 365 version that's right here, which looks different from the OneNote for Windows 10 version. And I hate that they're not consistent because that just drives me bonkers. And there's only a few things that are slightly different, but there's kind of big ones. So that I can't stand it. It seems like they just make them consistent across all platforms. I understand the 365 capability has to be different from the app, but it just drives me crazy. But you should have access to all three, and depending on what you want to do or where you're comfortable, you can work in all of them, and they'll sync together. So if you have your students working in Teams, that's fine, but if you're publishing and pushing everything in the app version on your computer, it's going to sync up with them on the Teams version anyway. So just kind of a heads up there. So I like working preferably in the 365 version, and I'll show you some features that are on the app version that you don't get in 365. But I'm going to do that, but it's the same thing as the Teams. The Teams for me though, it's a little bit more constricted because you have all the team stuff on the side, so your workspace is smaller. I would actually recommend teaching your students to open it up in the browser. So if they click this, they could either open it in the browser or the app, and that's going to give them either this view or this view, which is very similar in size. So just kind of be aware of that. That's something that you might want to teach them so they have more workspace. Okay, so going into my 365, I'm going to show you, so here's a collaboration space. You remember simultaneously your students could work in it. You could just disable it. I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly. So if you go into Manage Notebooks, this wasn't working for me earlier. I don't know why. It takes a little bit to think. I'll go back to that if I need to. Class note, let me see if I can do it here. Okay, you can lock your collaboration space so that it's not visible for students unless you want them to have it on in a project. This is where you could add sections. So in mine, I did warm-ups, interactive notebook intro, unit 1. I'll add unit 2 later, but I didn't want to overwhelm them at first. So you could add, those are the specific sections of their notebooks, and you could also have a link to it. So if you want to copy it to your Canvas page or something like that. Okay, so let me go back to this notebook, and this was where it looked very overwhelming for me at first, and I was like, this is too much. If it looks too much for me, it's going to be too much for my students, and I stopped. And I'm glad I went back because it's not as bad once you get started, but it takes a little bit. So remember your content library is material that you give to students that they can read, they can look at, but they can't text or edit. This is your teacher only, so this is your personal planner basically, where you can plan things out for yourselves, your students, build stuff without them seeing it. And then you have your students. So I have student 1 and I have student 2, and this is another con for me. I can't easily see the student version of OneNote. And that bothers me because as a teacher, they're going to ask me, well, how do you do that? And I'm assuming it's going to be very similar to what my version looks like, but I do not know for sure, and that bothers me. Also, students can customize there, so they could drag and drop things around. So I could put this down here instead, which is great for the student to customize it. But if I'm giving them directions, the first tab in your book, that could be problematic. So it really bothers me that I can't see student version, and I can't add myself as a student and my district. So maybe you can. I know some people have done that in the past just to see what the heck this looks like as a student. Okay. So your students will be auto-populated based on your enrollment or how you manually put them in. So you could always add up here. You can see add students. You could add co-teachers. This is great. And this is in your content library. So I'm going to go through the way I'm going to structure the rest of this is I'm going to go through each of the top features and talk about some of the things that you can do with it and how that looks. And then I'm going to talk about some of the differences between the app version and the 365 and Teams version. Okay. So in my teacher only, I have a section made called demo, and I have a demo sheet. So it's a separate page. It has a test sheet. So I can make in like my interactive notebook page, I could have like my section, I could have, page 1, page 2, page 3. So I could have a bunch of pages within a subsection, which is kind of hard. So you have a section, which is like the dividers in the binder. Then you have the individual pages or the handouts that you could create. So that's kind of how it's set up, just like it's a digital notebook. So in the demo, I'm just going to show you some of the features. So you can go through, it's already set to that, and it shouldn't be. Okay. So home is going to be your basic tools that you get in any kind of document. You have your font settings, size, bold, underline, highlight, color, all those configurations. So you can click, and this is cool, you could click anywhere on the notebook page and write a text box, which you can change as much as you want. Okay. Another cool feature I like, I'm going to get rid of those because it got my last video, everything got really crowded, and I don't want it to be as crowded on this one, so I'm going to delete as I go. There's also this really great way you can do tags, and these are really fun. So if you want like a checklist that you could, I didn't know you could do that. So it made that for any text section, you could make it a tag. So if I click there, and I want to do a checklist, and I'm like, homework, test on whatever date, right? And it's misspelled, but you could have students check it, which is really cool. There's some other cool features like question, important. You can have multiple tags. I didn't know that. See, I'm learning this. I just started looking into this. I'm learning as you go. So you have a question. How does this thing work? I'm still learning, but we'll learn together. Very cool. Another cool feature in Home that you don't see in a lot of other places. So tags is new for me. This is all normal. Tags is new, but dictate. So if I click on dictate, you could pick the language that you're picking up, which is English. So if I click on this, watch. Hello, my name is Amanda Watson. And I'm going to unclick it. Oh, hello, my name is Amanda Watson. So it didn't pick up. But you can see, as long as I'm talking, it's picking that up. So that's a really cool feature to save you time. So you could dictate your notes, or your students can dictate their notes, which is going to be great for, IEPs and students that have special accommodations. That's a great way to do that, especially in this crazy digital age. So that's your demo. That's just your basic home. Now, if you go to insert, this is where you could add some more components. You could add your table. You could add files. Now, if you insert an attachment, it's going to be like a Microsoft Office or PowerPoint presentation. Just be careful, because then the students are going to click on it and it's going to open it up in a separate app. And if they do their work in the Word document, then you're going to have to teach them how to share it and save it to you, and it won't be integrated here. So I'll show you the easier ways to do that. You could insert a file printout, so I'm going to do that. So if I have a PDF file, like this beautiful digital worksheet I used for my initial digital series, it's going to convert it and place it in here, which is really good, so you can see it. So that's a great feature. Students could type and write on it. I'm going to show you a trick. I would get rid of that, so once again, you don't have them going 2 different places for the same information unless you want to. You can also insert, so that's the file. Below there, I'm going to try to insert a picture version of it. So I'll show you why that might be beneficial in the future. So the same worksheet, if I save it as a JPEG, I can insert it here. And actually, I'm going to show you why that's beneficial right now. Okay, so this is the same thing. I can resize this a little bit easier or make it smaller. But one of the problems that Microsoft the Teams version and the 365 version does not have, that is very important to me, is this feature. So I'm going to go to this. I'm in my demo. You can see the same pages that we just put in. See, it's completely linked, which is nice. But on the OneNote for Windows 10 version, if you right click on it, there's a great feature which gives you some more options. You can set the picture as a background. And when you do that, that image is no longer able to be moved around. It's a fixed background. So you could do that for the PDF file. You can do that for the picture. So this is going to give you the freedom to do things like this. I made my sample interactive notebook. I was able to get the picture versions of the ones I created in my Google Slides. That was another tutorial. And you can see here, I could type in text boxes, text, and my students could actually complete the notes and do all that. They can complete the activities, but they can't mess up the formatting of the page, including some of my cool cutesy pictures. So if you go into you could copy and paste pictures in and just set them that, but you can only do that in the Windows 10 version, not the 365 version, which is a problem. I don't like that, but you just have to work around it and make it work. But that's a great, cool feature. So now I'm going to go back into my 365 version, and I'm going to refresh it. It should sync automatically, but I just want to make sure it's doing what I want it to do. And so now, even though I couldn't set this as a background when I pasted it in 365, it's a background, okay? Which makes it very cool, okay? So one of the things with Note, anywhere you click is going to be a place to text or write. So you can move it around. Another thing I've figured out, if you're adding a picture, I'm going to show you that. So if I want to insert, let's say I'm going to insert a sticker, and this is a really cool feature. So I want to insert the sticker of this koala bear. Maybe I was grading a student's assignment and they did really good. I just want to give them a cute little sticker. So I can say, great job, yay, and I could put that in there. But maybe I want it to move a little bit easier. If you hit Alt and then move it, it gives it a little bit more flexibility for some reason. Okay, just a little pro tip right there, and that's going to be for anything you add in. Another thing you could do is you could link pictures or text boxes to external URLs, so you can say what the text is going to be, or just put the address. So if you have, for example, I'm going to show you this. I love my Bitmoji virtual classroom. I have it linked and embedded in my Canvas. You can see how to do that on a completely different tutorial. So this is kind of a hack because Microsoft Office does not let me embed Google stuff. You go figure, right? But I was able to make a picture of my classroom that has general directions. My real live classroom has daily agenda updates, right? And that's linked and embedded into my Canvas course. It's going to be everywhere. But I want them very much connected. So what I did is I took a picture of my Bitmoji classroom. Nothing is live on this picture like it would be in my normal, if I had Google Classroom or if I had anything else. But what I did do is I linked it to it's already linked. So I already hyperlinked it to my Bitmoji virtual classroom. I put it in preview mode. If you don't know how to do that, you can go onto my series and see. And now this one is going to be the live version that students can click on and go through. So my classroom is still very much linked. It just has to go through, it's kind of a hack. So you have to kind of link it to the preview version only. But I was going to make it work, and that's how I did. So going back through the insert feature, so picture, link, this is very cool. You can insert audio. So the second I start clicking on this, I'm going to move this down. I'm going to move this sideways apparently. Okay, I don't know why I can't. Why is it doing that? Okay, I'm still learning. Okay, so if I click on this audio, the second I click on the audio right now, it's going to start recording my voice. So I can leave, great job, Amanda. You did a really good job on this great tutorial. I can leave feedback, it's personalized. I can leave directions for students that are more auditory learners. Once I hit stop, it's going to start, you can see it's actually processing right here on the audio recording. And once it's done processing, you're going to have that little, classic, this is the audio file icon. If I click on it, I can hit play.
Right now,
I don't know
it's
if you
going
can
to
hear
start
it.
recording my voice, so I can leave. Great job,
So,
Amanda.
I don't know if you can hear that through my microphone and my headset, but it was playing back the exact same text that I just recorded, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it. I don't want to clutter up my space. But let's go back into insert some other features. You can insert symbol, okay? Math. Okay, before I do that, you can just insert emojis. It's very simple. You can insert forms. So you could create like a escape room that's digital. You can create a check-in, daily check-in that you want your students to do, and it's going to be integrated there, or a quiz, which would be a graded form essentially, or meeting details for like a meeting that you have set up through Teams. Now I'm going to show you in your separate tabs. So these are ones I haven't shared out yet. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But you can create separate pages. So if I create a new page, I'm going to call this Math, because I want to show you some of the features of Math. So in Insert, if I go and click Math, it's going to give me Get Started with Math, some directions. And I'm going to skip ahead, which is my next tab, to the Draw feature. So if you have on any page, if you have this, it's going to be the text box that you type into. This is going to be your selector tool, okay? Your eraser, your pencil or pen, your highlighter, so you can go through and highlight your students can highlight pages or text as they go through, which is really cool. But let's go back to Math. I'm going to pick my pencil. I'm going to use red because whatever, and I'm going to go 4, because I can do this, plus 2 in my drawing. So you can use the drawing feature for students to draw artwork or draw a picture, a diagram of the mitochondria, right? Whatever you want to draw, but this is the Math section. So if I do that, so I wrote my equation with ink, I'm going to select my equation with the selector tool. I'm going to click on this Math button, and it's going to give me some features. I can fix this. I could ink to Math. So if I'm like scribbling things down, if you have like I have a Surface Book, so I have a pen you can write things on. I don't know if your students will have access to tools like that, but either way, they can use their mouse and do that. Then this is even better. You have a select option, so I can hit evaluate, and it's going to give the answer, and it can also show your solution steps. I don't know why it couldn't calculate it for me. This worked earlier, but there's some glitches. And then as a teacher, you can generate a practice quiz. This didn't work. Okay, so I'm going to generate a 3-question quiz. So it's basically saying, okay, we're doing basic arithmetic, and it basically sensed that and said, okay, here's some practice questions that the teacher doesn't have to create, and it's going to create it for you. 4 plus 3 is 7, and your students could do some more similar problem practices, and it's auto-generated, which is very cool. So that's that feature in Insert, okay, Insert Math. The Draw feature we just went through, so you could pick your different options. This is another part where the Teams version does not have a feature that the actual app version does. So I'm going to go to my app page, and you could see in here, if I go to Draw, so most everything's the same. You can see there's just a few other things that, the online app has an online video, so you could enter in like YouTube links. Don't know why it doesn't have it on the virtual version or the 365 or Teams version. There's also, I'll talk about Researcher in just a moment, but in the Draw feature, there's the same things. It's more of a lasso, but you could have like sparkly pen. So if I click, here's the thing, you have to click this in the app to get to the pen, not just the pen itself, which is what the 365. So I could go, hello, and it's going to have a sparkly pen, so your students would love that. So if they open up in the map app, there also is this thing called ink to shape. So if you have it selected, I could draw in a square, and it's going to make it prettier for me, or draw in the circle, and it's going to make it or oval for me. So that's cool that it has these features. But if it's not grayed out and selected, it's not going to do that. There's a ruler as well on the app, but you don't have on the 365. So there's just a few things that I don't know why, but they don't give you in the 365 version, which is very frustrating. And then I'm going to go to this. This is just a random page I created, okay, to show you this Researcher feature. This is also on the Windows 10 app. It might be on for 16, but I don't know. And if you click on Researcher, and that's an insert, I could hit oxygen. Maybe my students are doing a periodic table research project, and they could see different things visually right there. So I clicked on the first one, and they could add it to a page, or you could say, have 3 research sources there, add it to that page, and it's going to be right there and visible for them. So I think that's a really great feature that is definitely worth looking into, and I wish it was on the 365 version, but it's not. So those are just a few of the features I found that don't go over. So you have your basic draw, you have your basic insert, but you don't have the video, the researcher, or the cool pens, basically, or the ink to shape version on the 365 version. Now, moving along, this is where there's some really cool stuff. So if I go here to text, I'm going to go, I'm scattering around. I'm going to copy and paste this text just so I can show you this. So this is directions I have on my digital interactive notebook. Copy. And I'm going to go to my demo page, and I'm going to go to text. I'm going to show you. So if I paste this text, oh, they like the Control V. Okay, so if I paste that in and go into View Reader, there's a few things. So the navigation pane, you could pull that in and out, that's fine. But this is a game changer. I'm going to get rid of math, sorry. If you click on Immersive Reader, this is going to be amazing for your students with disabilities, your ESOL students, anything like that. So there's a few things. One,
Directions.
you can have
Input
your
notes
students
page.
get it read to them. I don't know if you can hear that. You could change the speed at which it's being read to them, female or male voice.
Page. Complete your notes.
Then you can have, and I played around with this, the size. So if they're vision impaired, you could have them learn how to do that. The spacing of the letters. Some fonts are easier for students with dyslexia. You can also have them go through. You can see I have it all selected right now. So this is with it off. The regular text, they can read it, or you can have it broken down into syllables, which is great for your emerging readers. Parts of speech can be selected and highlighted with different colors. You could have it where it shows the labels are not above the words. That's such a cool feature I've never seen anywhere else. And then you have this feature called Picture Dictionary. So if you have it on, you can click, your students can click a word, and it's going to show them. Let me see, did I turn it off? Picture dictionary. Oh yeah. So if they click on the word, it's going to show them pictures that would help them understand those words. And then of course you have your language, so it can translate it there. So I think that is just such a valuable tool for our students that have special needs and or IEPs. That's something that you don't get in any other. I've never seen that anywhere else. You have the reading view, which is just going to make it bigger without all the editing text. You can change the page colors of your pages right here, which is pretty cool. You could change the page version, so you could go back if it's been cut, like version 1, 2, 3, as you edit through things. Show authors, accessibility, simplified ribbon. So those are some things. If you go into I'm going to go back into the app. If you go into view in the app, there's a few other things. And so remember, this is the app. You still have your Immersive Reader. You could change the sizing. The page color is the same. But in the app, you can do ruled paper. So if I do that in here, I'm going to do graph paper for here, okay? So if I change that on the Windows 10 version, and let me now go back to my 365 version, if I update it, it should, even though I don't have that feature to enable it on 365 version or the Teams version, it should, fingers crossed that it actually works, doesn't. Great. Don't know why, but it should. I know it has in the past. I know sometimes it takes a little bit to update. It should have brought that in over there, but it didn't this time, and I don't know why. So we're going to move on. So the next feature I'm going to show you, so we just did view. Help. If you have help, they have good tutorials there. I watched a few of them to help you do this one. And this is where it gets really nitty gritty. I love this. Okay, so say I made this page, this math page with a practice question, and I want to distribute it to my students. Okay, that means I have student 1 and 2, I want to give it to them. I can do, there's a few options for distributing. I could just click distribute page, which I'm going to do on the side over here. And I want to distribute it to, let's just intro, it's fine. And it's going to distribute to my students. It's done. It did that. Oh, it's doing that. So while it's doing that, I'm going to show you the other options. So you could do that, and it's going to go to every student enrolled in and that has access to your notebook. I can go into individual. So maybe I have a remediation worksheet for one student that just needs a little extra help. I could do groups. So I could have like group projects and put groups by students, and they could get different directions for their project. And Lifesaver, cross notebook distribution. So if I have multiple preps and I have multiple teams, I can make one page in one notebook notebook and distribute it to all my other periods of classes without having to create it in each individual notebook. So that's just getting the content you create in your teacher-only version to the students. So before this point in time, this math page was only visible to me. But now if I go into my student, because it's been distributed, and I go into their interactive notebook, they will have that math page now that we created together, and they can work on it and complete it, and that is there. So I think that's a really cool feature. You could distribute new sections. So if you want to make a new section, so maybe you decide, okay, we're done with unit 1, I need to make a unit 2 now. You can do that to your group, to individual groups. So maybe it's a project or the whole notebook, which is very nice as well. If you want this copied to the content library, remember, so maybe this text that we did, I don't want the students to be able to highlight it. I don't want them to be able to do anything with it. I just want them to be able to read it. Okay, so I could copy that to the content library, and it's going to go to their content library, and they're not going to be able to do anything but see it. And this is the next part. I love it. So if I go to I'm going to go to review student work. I'm going to click that. I'm going to actually go to my intro page real quick to do that, because there's a student name that pops up and I don't want you to see it. So if I go, I'm going to go into, I'm sorry you can't see this, but I want to make sure their privacy is protected, because yeah, anyways. So there you go. So what I did is I went to review student work, and it gave me it just gave me some options. So I clicked Unit 1 interactive notebook, then I clicked the page sample interactive notebook that I had shared previously, and now in student 1 I can see their work. And if I did that in student 2, and it's going to be, I wish I could show you right now, but I don't want to, I want to maintain privacy. But if I click just in the side box right here, there would be a box. I could just click through the different students' names, and it's going to bring me to this one page. I don't have to search through it like I'm doing right now. And it's going to bring me to that one page. And I'll be able to give it a grade, add a sticker, write stuff in, dictate congratulations or whatever. And it just makes it very easy on the side just to click the student's name to go to that one page. Very, very cool feature. You could create a new notebook. You could add students. You could remove teachers. You can manage it, which I showed you earlier by doing that. The last thing, I think I already showed you this, but just in case, it will show the students, I showed you this at the very beginning, if they want to see, it's not going to work for me, but you can open it up in 365 or in the app version. So, and this is like, this is where if you go into this, you could do this on the app version or a 365 version. If you go into Manage Notebook, this is where you could add sections, enable different things, and do that. Okay, let's see. I think that's it. I went through everything fast, and I'm going to try to wrap it up. So I'm going to go to my exit screen. Lots of information I threw at you. Hopefully it made some sense. The best thing to do, like I said, is just play around with it. There's a lot of really great features. You could make your interactive notebooks. You can do reading assignments with the Immersive Reader, just game changer for there. So I think this is something worth looking into. I wish I could see it in student version so I could see how complicated it looks for the students. I know there's going to be a lot of teaching and leading students how to use the different tools, but I think they might be able to figure it out, and it could be a really big game changer, especially since it's so well integrated into those teams. So I hope this was helpful to you, and if it wasn't, there's a lot of other places online you can find information about OneNote if it's something you want to do. I'm sorry if you're Google and you can't use OneNote, because there's nothing comparable in Google, and I think it's a really great feature. So hopefully it helped you. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my blog. Find me on social media, connect with me, share ideas, stay updated with when I send new. I have a lot of more other things coming down the pipeline that I've started working on. So share this with others too, because we're in this together, and if this was helpful for you, it might be helpful for others in your school. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Bye.